Robert Saleh, the first head coach in the NFL in 2024 to get fired. Looks like Doug Peterson will be the second. And how about Brandon Royval? He had a pretty good showing Saturday night in the Octagon in Vegas over Taira. The flyweights put on a show, man. That was an absolutely great fight. If you missed it, go back and check that out on ESPN Plus. That was really good. Kind of watched it like 1.5 times so far. Kind of getting a feel for it. It was just a wild fight. Very back and forth. Jaden Daniels also giving a fight to Baltimore and Lamar Jackson. And I think that I'm ready to say Washington might be the real deal. The Commanders might be the real deal. All of this and more, obviously some updates on the Kansas City Chiefs, Rashee Rice's injury, what we're looking at coming into week 6 now, I think. Week 7, excuse me. So after the bye week, I think a good time for the Chiefs to have a bye week, but nonetheless, happy Indigenous Peoples Day, and welcome back to the Papa Schro Knows podcast here on a beautiful Monday. It's actually the first time I've recorded on a Monday in quite some time, but I'm not 100% sure when this will be out, just depending on when my computer renders this and going in way further detail than I need to. But obviously the Monday Night Football game tonight, Buffalo versus New York, has not happened, so we'll get to see the Jets for the first time since Robert Saleh has been fired. I was pretty shocked by that. But, I mean, it's obviously Rodgers and Saleh weren't getting along, I think. And just some of the videos that we saw, the Rodgers went to go hug him, and Saleh went to go hug Rodgers. Rodgers kind of pushed him away, kind of gave him a look. It's kind of weird. Felt very weird, not to have that chemistry between your quarterback and head coach. I mean, Saleh is a defensive guy. He got this coaching job off of, what he did in San Francisco with that defense, a fantastic defense that has been set up. I feel like for years and years. And I mean, the guys that are there coaching are doing a great job. D'Amico Ryans, of course, getting that head coaching job off of being the successor to Robert Saleh. I don't know. I was pretty shocked. I didn't think that Robert Saleh should have been fired. I didn't really think that was really his mess, really. And I think the Jets are really kind of who I thought they were. I mean, I didn't think they were going to be good. Look, you got Aaron Rodgers coming off of a torn Achilles, and that was magically going to solve everything. I mean, they weren't terrible last year, and the defense has really been what's kept them good or, relatively okay as a team, able to kind of eke out some victories here and there. Gave the Chiefs a fight last year, of course, on Sunday Night Football. I think that was week 4, early in the season. But, yeah, I didn't like that firing. Felt a little Brian Flores-ish, right? Brian Flores was doing pretty good in Miami, got fired. Who knows if he'll get a head coaching job again after, the kind of scandal that went down after that. Talking about trying to lose games to tank for Tua, of course. But Robert Saleh, nonetheless, is fired. Daniel Hackett is still in New York with that atrocious offense. Aaron Rodgers will continue to be the quarterback, so we'll see. New look Jets here this evening against the Buffalo Bills. The Bills also another team that I'm very interested in right now, just to see if, I don't know, Josh Allen can kind of pull off somewhat of a miracle. It does not look like they have a great offense. Looks like Josh Allen is the guy. Josh Allen and James Cook. Shout out to James Cook. Shout out both of them. They're both on my fantasy team. And my fantasy team, it was a rough week. It was a rough week in my dynasty league. The only one I really care about. But fantasy's been interesting. It's been interesting this year with the injuries and just, names popping up here and there, as it always is with the waiver wire. But the injuries, man, they've been tough. I think they've been tough on just about everybody. And obviously the teams out there. The Chiefs have been majorly affected by the injury bug. Go ahead and go into that with Rashee Rice, of course, going to be sidelined for, I think, pretty much the whole year. I don't know if he has a chance to come back in the playoffs now after the surgery, but successful surgery nonetheless. Rashee Rice had on that knee, and For the foreseeable future, the Chiefs will be without their number one wide receiver. So it opens up a lot of things. Obviously, Davante Adams probably going to be traded. I do not think the Chiefs are in the race for Davante Adams. I don't think the Raiders will trade with the Chiefs on that kind of magnitude. I don't think anyone really wants to trade with the Chiefs at this point. I'm not saying they can't get something done. I just mean from a perspective of, this is going to be the team that finally three-peats. I don't want to be the team to aid them in getting this three-peat or, I don't know. Silly, but I think with contenders and division rivals, it's going to be more difficult. Now, one trade that I do think that could happen is Tyreek Hill back to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think that is the most far-fetched trade that I'm kind of on board with. I can kind of see it. I could see how that would work out. The Dolphins don't look like they're going to contend this year. When does Tua get back? Is Tua going to be 100% again? I mean, at this point, I personally would like to see Tua retire. I mean, those head injuries are hard, man. But what could they get out of Tyreek Hill? And maybe that's just crazy far-fetched, but just in my head and my line of thinking, my crazy line of thinking, I feel like Tyreek Hill could be somewhat of an option. I'm not 100% sure what his contract is. I've been meaning to actually look into that. We'll check that out right now. We will see. What we've got. We're going to check out Over the Cap. My personal favorite website when I have any contractual inquiries about any NFL players' contracts. All right, so what we're looking at right now, there's a guaranteed 19.25 for 2024, guaranteed 27.6 in 2025. It does look like you got one more year. Be a almost $52 million cap hit. And then 27 through 29 will be void years. It looks like there's options on every single year. So that makes me more inclined to actually, let's go back to that. That makes me more inclined to say, absolutely, this could happen. You trade for Tyreek Hill, depending on what the value is there, and I don't know what kind of trade the Dolphins would necessarily do to give that up. But for Tyreek Hill, it works out really well. Come back to Kansas City for a year, opt out after the year, go get some more money. Because, what is Tyreek Hill going to do the rest of the season with no quarterback at this point? I don't know how much this really helps the Dolphins. Obviously what was the trade before? It was like 4 picks. I don't think Tyreek Hill gives the same value as he did, 3 years ago now? I think maybe you pull it off for a second round and, something. I don't know what that something is. More picks, later picks or something like that. But I think maybe some type of package with a second round pick could get the job done possibly. It just depends on what the value the Dolphins have or foresee in the long run. You're talking about a 30-year-old receiver that Tyreek's a good route runner. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to slander his route running at all. But Tyreek Hill is, very dependent on his speed. That is only going to go downhill from here on out. Now, what that brings to the Chiefs is a lot more dynamic of an offense. I think you have good possession receivers in Juju Smith-Schuster that we saw last week in Week 5 against the Saints, that he can still perform at a pretty good level. You can have some good games with him. Again, good possession receiver. I'm going to be dropping a film breakdown on Week 1 The offensive film breakdown kind of could fill that void, kind of what Rashee Rice did. Obviously, not the same level as Rashee Rice at this point, but we are still talking about a former All-Pro receiver. So I think that the Chiefs can get that, maybe not that level what he was at, but I do think that what he did on Monday night is sustainable. I mean, maybe not 100+ yards every week, but I mean, I think Juju could be good for 50 to 75 easily each week. J. Watt, Justin Watson, you've also got him, very good possession receiver. Can kind of find his rhythm and his spots in the zones to help out. But then now you've got Tyreek Hill with Xavier Worthy to stretch the field, and maybe even that's a way to counter the too high shell. Because we have seen this now since what, 2020, 2021 really? 2021 be implemented across the league, really. We saw it with the Broncos first, earliest, with Vic Fangio. We saw the Bucs then apply that in Super Bowl 55, what they applied a lot of the time. And then we saw it copied around the league. The Chiefs adapted and changed their style. They changed their identity. And maybe that could help get back to that. Or at least open up anything underneath. I mean, you got Hill on one side. You got Worthy on the other. Both going deep. And then you got Juju in the middle with Kelsey. I mean, I think that opens up this offense to be the absolute best version of itself. I don't know, with an option out next year. 2025 through 2029 are all option years. I don't know, man. Depending on what what the price tag would be for the trade, I think Tyreek Hill would be a wonderful option. Now, I don't know how that works with the cap this year. Obviously, the Chiefs could work out with the Dolphins. Hey, you're going to still pay X amount. We'll pay this amount, to get the cap space or, whatever they need to do cap-wise. I'm going to go ahead and look at general cap space and see where the Chiefs are at. Chiefs currently have just over $4.1 million in cap space. It's not great. One thing the Chiefs do amazingly well, and I think that, let's see if I can filter this. I can. The Chiefs are fourth best in dead money. The Bengals are actually the best. Just over $8 million in dead money for the Bengals. Bengals, Colts, Falcons, Chiefs, Bears are the top 5. The Ravens are also up there at 6. Meanwhile, you got the Denver Broncos. Most dead cap money, obviously, we all know. $77 million. A little over $77 million. Vikings, a little over $66 million. The Bills, just under $64 million. And the Eagles right about at $60 million in dead money. It's tough. It's tough to then go out and win when you're spending that much of your cap space on dead money. Whereas you look at a team like the Chiefs, they're spending $236 million active cap spending versus a team like the Broncos who are currently spending $175 million. And the Bills at $188, just under $189 million in active cap spending. Well, there's a difference. I mean, that's like $50 million difference. That makes it almost like baseball. You know what I mean? There's no cap. There's no salary cap, so you can spend whatever you can, or are able to spend. But that's where that kind of comes into effect in the cap, and that's just how you maneuver it. And it's been fun to watch. I feel like throughout what has become the Chiefs dynasty, to watch Brett Veach and how he operates and moves, and how good he is at being the GM with the Kansas City Chiefs. To watch the cap gymnastics that man does, and to look at it, when I'm looking through, things like this on Over the Cap and looking at where contracts could fit in, things like that. It's just amazing to think the way that guy works around the cap. But I don't know. Chiefs King, let me know in the comments below what you think about a potential trade for Tyreek Hill. Who you think the Chiefs should target? I mean, obviously there's been Amari Cooper has been on the list. Devontae Adams, I mentioned him. I don't think that the Raiders would. I just don't see the division rival moving a chip like Devontae Adams over to Kansas City to aid in the three-peat for the Chiefs. The Dolphins, I don't think would be, some of these teams, or even the Titans. DeAndre Hopkins is another one. I think DeAndre Hopkins is a guy that us as Chiefs Kingdom have wanted for years now. When he signed with the Titans, I don't know. I definitely thought we would see DeAndre Hopkins in a Chiefs uniform. I feel like we all kind of talked about it. We all liked the idea of it. Never saw it. And the Titans, of all places, still kind of seems weird to me. Although they do have a pretty good receiving core in Tennessee at this point, adding Calvin Ridley as well. So, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work out to win a Super Bowl before DeAndre Hopkins retires. But I think that's another way to kind of reel in some type of bargaining chip of like, look, we're right here. We're right here on the cusp. You saw what we've done the last 2 years. You saw what the Chiefs did last year. I mean, I still think the Chiefs could win a Super Bowl with the team they have right this second. I don't think that's far-fetched. I don't think they necessarily need to go out and make a blockbuster move to be able to compete. Now, would it make it much easier? Absolutely. Much easier. Much less stress, I think. I think at this point, the way the Chiefs play, though, they get everybody's best shot. And, that makes these games difficult. But I will say, I just think that the Chiefs, I think they should go out and make some type of move depending on the cost. Do they have to? I don't think they necessarily have to. Because the rest of the league is showing us right now, I don't know how good the rest of the league is at this point. I mean, 2024 is still weird. I've had 2 podcasts now named 2024 is weird. We went with the whatever that was after week 3, and then now last week, 2024 is still weird. It's still weird, folks. It's still weird. And, the Commanders competing with Baltimore on Sunday, I think shows me Washington is better than what I expected or thought at any point. I do I'm starting to take them seriously, especially seeing the Cowboys against the Lions. The Cowboys are not good. The Eagles, I don't think, are good. You had a coach taunting his own fans in Nick Sirianni after a game where you beat the Browns by 4 points. I thought the Eagles were going to lose that game the whole time. And you're taunting your own fans? That's crazy. The quicker they fire Nick Sirianni, the better. I think the Eagles are in a terrible place and need to fire their head coach that obviously has no leadership skills, is what it really looks like. I think that's what it boils down to. Nick Sirianni has 0 leadership skills, and he has shown that time and time again. The post-game at Arrowhead yelling at the Chiefs fans. The post-game this past Sunday yelling at his own fans. Dude, what did he do this thing? Going over there, talked a little bit. I mean, they didn't get his audio as good as they did at Arrowhead. Obviously, people should watch what they say in the tunnel. It's going to surface at some point, which, it is what it is. I mean, I don't really care either way, but I do think that it just kind of shows that lack of maturity with a coach. A player, I can get way more than a coach. I feel like the coach is lead by example kind of deal, right? And I mean, every once in a while, getting chippy is one thing, but yelling with the fans, I mean, come on, what are we doing? What are we doing? You're supposed to be the strategist, the leader. The guy drawing everything up. Nick Sirianni doesn't call plays, though. Nick Sirianni also made Matt Patricia an offensive coordinator, right? All right, now, back to what I talked about earlier. Our boy Doug Peterson. Dougie P. It is not looking good. 35-16 to the Bears overseas. Getting absolutely beat up by the Chicago Bears were the Jacksonville Jaguars. Caleb Williams, 23 of 29, 226 yards, 4 touchdowns, and an interception. 4 carries for 56 yards. Come on now. This is what I talked about the first couple of weeks, where everybody was talking about Caleb Williams is a bust this, Caleb Williams is a bust that, biggest bust ever. We're a couple weeks into the season. The reactions in 2024, I think, are crazier than I have ever seen. Honestly. I do think that they've been, and they're still just as crazy as we go through. The takes just keep getting wilder and wilder. First of all, Josh Allen was the best quarterback in the league for the first 2 weeks. And he was, but the overall notion that he's the best in the league right now. I mean, that's 2 separate conversations, I feel like, right? Patrick Mahomes is in a bubble of his own up here. And this is the playing field for everybody else at this moment. At that moment, Josh Allen was the best quarterback in the league. He was playing as the best quarterback in the league. Then he played 2 real teams, and we saw what happened. We'll see what happens tonight. Much different when the Bills played real contenders. Allen did not look good. Now, Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the league. Okay, I don't even know if I would necessarily say he is playing up to being the best quarterback in the league right now. My vote might go to Jaden Daniels currently. I mean, Lamar has been solid too. I mean, Burrow has definitely been amazing. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to, throw dirt on Burrow right now. But I do think Jaden Daniels, I mean, he has been amazing. I mean, Burrow wasn't too great last night. 19 of 28, 208 yards. He did run for 55 yards on 4 carries, which there was one crazy long run that when it popped up on my sleeper notification, I was like, what the hell? Joe Burrow? 4 carries, 55 yards, and a touchdown. But he had a big touchdown run at some point. I didn't see it, but like I said, I saw the notification on my phone and just thought, Burrow don't run like that. Let me move over to this Commanders-Ravens game and see. Jaden Daniels, 24 of 35, 269 yards and 2 touchdowns. Ran for 22 yards off 6 carries. No touchdowns there, but no turnovers for Joe Burrow. Or, Jaden Daniels. Lamar Jackson, 20 of 26, efficiency. This is one thing. He did throw a pick. 1 touchdown, 1 pick. But 20 of 26? Come on now, efficiency. 11 carries for 40 yards. This is the one thing about Lamar Jackson for me that just gives him the advantage over Allen, Burrow at times. And, Burrow, I think, Burrow's up there as long as he stays healthy. I feel like that was my main point of contingency coming into 2024 was you're kind of in this weird bubble where I don't know if you're really with the elite right here with Jackson and Allen. But if you're healthy, we know you are, right? We know Burrow is. But also being reliant on so many weapons. Because now after this season, we'll get to judge Allen over a whole, a whole season. As right now we don't have that. Just a few weeks of it. But with an offense that has nothing. I mean, he has a good running back in James Cook with Josh Allen. Lamar Jackson's really never had help. He's had good running backs. Never really had just, a dominant receiving core or anything like that. Mahomes, obviously the last 2 years, we've seen him win 2 Super Bowls with a ragtag group of wide receivers is what it's felt like. We've seen the emergence of Rashee Rice. Kelsey has been on a decline. I mean, we've seen all of these other guys at the elite level, or will have seen by the end of the year, except Joe Burrow. We don't know what it looks like with Joe Burrow at quarterback when he doesn't have elite weapons. I mean, his entire time in Cincinnati, essentially, he's had a mix of Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase. They've had some good tight ends thrown in there. Gesicki this year, a great tight end. Hayden Hurst had a good run in Cincinnati. C.J. Uzoma as well. Joe Mixon, he always had a solid running back. So, I mean, we have seen Burrow with all of these different weapons his entire career. So only knock on Burrow, I think, at this point. But 7-point game, 30-23. The Washington Commanders stay right there with the Baltimore Ravens pretty much the entire game. I don't know. 2024 is still weird. I don't know what we'll see next. The Chiefs next week, they will move on to at San Francisco in a Super Bowl rematch in Frisco. The Chiefs did beat the 49ers last time they went to Santa Clara. That was, I think, 2 years ago now. And might rehash some Super Bowl film or something like that en route to getting ready for that. That'll be this upcoming Sunday. So, all right. Let me know in the comments below who your team is, how they're doing, how you feel about the NFL this year right now. How you feel about the Chiefs if you're a Chiefs fan. Shout out Chiefs Kingdom. Drop in the comments below and let me know how you feeling. What do you think about a potential trade? Who would you like to see the Chiefs, go make a run at for a potential trade that you think that would put them over the top to easily get to this three-peat? So moving on to the UFC, not going to be too long, but I did want to talk about this main event because Taira is my guy, man. Saw him fight a few months ago. I know I talked about that fight on the pod where he had that crazy, took the guy's back, kind of put his weight down to take him down and just blew his knee out. It was rough to watch. But Taira showed more control. He's very, very good at taking the back and, getting that body triangle, and doing some of those things grappling wise that just makes it very difficult to deal with and handle. And I think Taira does a great job of making you miserable while he is in top position. Brandon Royval, though, the striking was top tier. He did a great job in this fight, keeping distance and, knowing, when to, make something happen. Although there was a point where he went for an armbar, gave up his position. Taira kind of finished the fight, or not finished the fight, finished that round with Royval's back. It ended up being a pretty close fight by the end, but I think we all kind of felt like Taira did so much to keep him in it and the heart to continue to go. I mean, Tatsuro Taira is going to be a star in the sport. The flyweights put on an absolute show, as I mentioned earlier. If you haven't seen it, you should go back and watch this fight. It was a very good fight, very good main event from, I think two lesser-known guys. I think to, more casual viewers that wouldn't necessarily tune in for a Royval versus Taira matchup. But I thought it was a great matchup. The matchmakers did their thing with that one, and Taira, I think, shows that he belongs. He does belong in the upper echelon of the flyweight division, and hopefully we get to see him in another, top-tier matchup like that. Maybe throw him on a pay-per-view. I mean, I know flyweights are, it is what it is, but get him that exposure. I think getting him that exposure maybe on a pay-per-view card or on a bigger pay-per-view card would be huge for him. I think Royval is pretty established at this point. Of course, getting the title shot against Pantoja. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Great fight, though. Like I said, if you haven't seen it, you should go check it out. With that is going to end the podcast for this week. I really appreciate if you listen to the whole thing. Again, hit the comment section. Let me know anything that I talked about on this episode. How you feel about it. How you felt about those fights on Saturday nights. The Chiefs, possible trade candidates. The NFL, man, it's weird. It's weird in 2024, right? Who's real? Who's pretenders? Are the Commanders real? Actually, I would really like to hear some opinions on the Commanders because I'm to the point where I'm kind of at the threshold where I kind of, all right, they might be winning the NFC East this year. I don't know how tough the NFC East is at this point in 2024 with the Eagles and Cowboys the way they've looked. So let me know. Smash that like button if you watch through the entire video, especially. Smash that subscribe button too. We're on the road to 300 subscribers still. I will be back with more film reviews. Again, have that week 1 offensive film review. I'm going to be working on delving out at least probably weeks 2 and 3 the rest of this week. Working on getting them again. It's just a matter of sitting down and recording and I watch the film and get through it. But sitting down and recording it, that's a whole nother story. But you know how that goes. Everybody's busy. So until next time, we'll see you right back on the podcast next Monday. Go Chiefs.